All right, what is going on, Laker fans? Thank you very much for tuning in on this fine Saturday morning. We're talking Los Angeles Lakers basketball, so it's an NBA free agency special. Finish on 710 ESPN. Then we're, of course, coming on here live and doing everything on social. So it's going to be a lot of moving pieces here. If I'm not looking at you, don't worry. Everything's fine. I just got to keep refreshing Twitter. Got a lot of different stuff going on. So okay, we got a full show going on. Let me retweet this real quick. Got that done. Let's get started. All right, Laker fans. Appreciate you tuning in. Let's kind of get started. This is how I want to start. I want to start with who's in. I want to start with who's out for the Los Angeles Lakers. What are still some of the question marks that are still left? So we got a lot to get into. I'll go through some of your comments as the show progresses. And it's kind of crazy. We're doing a free agency special talk, whatever you want to call this thing. And what are we, November 21st? Supposed to be in the middle of July when we're doing these free agency specials. So this is obviously different for everybody out there, but it's still great. Absolutely still great. Okay. So who's in right now for the Lakers? All right. This is what we know so far. We know that Dennis Schroeder is going to be a part of the Lakers roster for this upcoming season. The six-man runner-up last season with the Oklahoma City Thunder is now going to be a part of the Lakers franchise. All right. So we know that much as far as Dennis Schroeder, a guy that averaged 18 points, 4 assists a game, was big to the Oklahoma City Thunder of not just making the playoffs, but also almost getting out of the first round. Remember, Lakers and the Thunder were about to play each other. I don't know if you guys remember that, but they were a game away. They're playing Game 7 against the Rockets. Dennis Schroeder, a big part of that, as was Chris Paul and Steven Adams and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. But Dennis Schroeder coming to the Lakers, so we know that much. Okay? All right, who else is coming to the Lakers? How about yesterday, Montrezl Harrell? I don't know about you guys, but that one came out of nowhere for me. Montrezl Harrell coming to the Los Angeles Lakers. By the way, this whole Clipper jersey thing that he's wearing there, can we find a picture of him like in grade school or something? I don't even want to see a Clippers jersey on the guy. Montrezl Harrell coming to the Lakers. Okay, here's another perfect example. There's another Sixth Man of the Year award. So Dennis Schroeder was the runner-up. Montrezl Harrell was the Sixth Man of the Year winner. Both of those players we know are going to be a part of the Lakers. And I'm going to, as we go into the show, I'll get into more details on both of those players. But here are two guys, 26, 27 years old, two players that had significant impact for their playoff teams, now are coming to the Lakers and going to be a part of this franchise. And that's obviously big time. Okay, another name that was thrown around yesterday that comes to the Lakers. How about Wesley Matthews? So Wesley Matthews, $3.6 million. You know, the one thing I like about all three of these players that came from the Lakers, and this is something that Rob Pelinka has been emphasizing, and even emphasized a couple days ago on Thursday, he had his little press conference announcing the trade of Dennis Schroeder. But one of the things I like, Wesley Matthews played for the Bucks. They were obviously competing for a championship. Montrezl Harrell and the Clippers, that was their goal, was to try to get to the Lakers or get past the Lakers. And then Dennis Schroeder played in some meaningful playoff games, went 7 games with the Oklahoma City Thunder. 3 guys that have playoff experience that are coming in to obviously try to win an NBA championship with the Los Angeles Lakers. So those are the 3 players that we know are in. Who's out? So when I was doing my LakersTalk show on 710 ESPN, there was a lot of moving and shaking, and I am, continuing to refresh here, and I'll see if, obviously anything else comes up. But this is what we know of who's out. Danny Green, appreciate his services. He ends up, where did he end up now? He's in Philly. I think he was traded a couple times. Trevor Ariza, I think, was traded 13 times in the past 3 days. What happened to Trevor Ariza? Guy was on every team. I expect Trevor Ariza to have thank you cards and half page of the paper and thanking the organization for the 7 teams he was on this week. We know Danny Green is out. We know Dwight Howard. What happened with Dwight? How weird was that? Dwight tweeting out that he's coming back to the Lakers Nation, and then he deletes his tweet, and the next thing you know, within an hour, he's signing with the Philadelphia 76ers. Dwight Howard is out. Danny Green is out. And then when I was doing my show, Avery Bradley signs a 2-year deal with the Miami Heat for $11.6 million. We know Avery Bradley's out. Now, I want to read something off here because, again, when I was doing my show on Instagram, Rajon Rondo puts out a message. Puts out a thank you to the Lakers organization, Jeannie and Rob, for giving me the opportunity to play for an incredible franchise. The professionalism and support from Frank, the coaching staff, and support staff is something I'm truly grateful for. With my guys, there's an amazing brotherhood that only we know. To the fans, thank you for welcoming me with open arms from day one and showing me love. Being a part of Lake Show was something special, and I'm proud we brought it back to you. Now, what's next? I'm pretty sure Rajon Rondo is not putting out that message on Instagram because he's coming back to the Lakers. I'm just going to go out on a limb there and just assume that, okay, well, if I'm saying who's out, I'm assuming who's out now is Danny Green, Dwight Howard, Rajon Rondo, Avery Bradley. Those would be the 4 players, which, listen, I'm not going to sit here and, pretend like those aren't important role players, veterans for the Lakers, because I really do think they are. I think all of them kind of fit their need, and they were all beneficial in a way that they were. But let me also say to Laker fans out there that this is what happens when you win an NBA championship. And certain players are going to have certain priorities before they win the championship. And then when they win the championship, they're going to try to get paid, and they're going to try and take care of their families, or they're going to try and have a contract that extends for more than 1 year. So I get it. I respect it, and I appreciate all those players. If they're never playing for the Los Angeles Lakers again, I appreciate what Dwight Howard brought to the table. I appreciate what Danny Green brought to the table. Rajon Rondo and Avery Bradley, those 4 players, throw Quinn Cook in the mix, which the Lakers, we know, didn't keep his contract on the books. Those are players that help you win championships, and you're not going to see everything that they do. Maybe it doesn't show up always in the stat line. Maybe it shows up remarkably in the stat line, but we should be appreciative of what those players brought to the Lakers and what they did for the Los Angeles Lakers. And if all those players are out, which, like I said, it sounds like it is, I don't think any of these guys can officially sign, but it's safe to say that these guys are going to go. I think it's safe to say that those guys are going to go. And what I will say to all those players, they helped us win a championship. They'll always be Lakers. So you have to appreciate and respect what they're trying to do now, because this might be the final contract, or finances are more important now than chasing a ring because they have a ring under their belt. Okay. So those are the players that are out. Here are the question marks that are still up in the air. Listen, it's 11:50. It's still the morning time. Still having my cup of Joe. Enjoying a nice cup of coffee as we get the show going. NBA free agency in the middle of November. Thanksgiving a few days away, and we have an NBA free agency special. So the players that are in, the players that are out, and the question marks that are still up in the air. And this is where I feel like now everything becomes so important for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I'm just seeing a report now from, I think, Mark Stein. The Hawks are considered the front runners to sign Rajon Rondo. Rajon, if you end up with the Atlanta Hawks and you don't end up with the Los Angeles Clippers, hats off to you, my man. Hats off to you. Go do your thing. Always been a Hawks fan if you go sign with the Atlanta Hawks. So now the biggest question marks come with the Lakers. What do they do to fill up the remainder of their roster? This is the question that I come to Laker fans real quick for. Okay, so Laker fans who are tuned in on Twitch and Periscope and YouTube and what other platforms we using? Facebook, we're everywhere. To everybody that's tuned in, should the Lakers now make KCP a top priority? Should they pay him more than they were paying him this past year? Should they give him a multi-year deal? Because I think KCP now becomes probably the most important piece that's left for the Lakers. I think this becomes incredibly important, and I think they got to do whatever they got to do. And I put out a tweet yesterday late in the night that I want to see KCP back with the Lakers. Then I saw Avery Bradley go. I saw Avery Bradley end up going to the Miami Heat this morning, and I said, even more now, let's go get KCP. So I'm hoping Lakers end up with KCP. Do I think people want a couple fist pumps right here? I got you guys. My bad, guys. How far are we into the show and no fist pumps? No, that's my fault. That's my fault, Laker fans. I got you guys. But now that we kind of sit here with KC, now that we know the dust is kind of starting to settle, I'm a fan of KCP. I know some people are going to say, well, Bogdan Bogdanovic, why don't you go after him? I don't know what he's going to sign for. I'm just assuming the guy's going to sign for maybe it's equal money, but maybe it's more money, whatever the case is. But I'm not sure what the Lakers are going to do on that front. I said this right before I finished the show on 710. KCP and Markieff Morris, those are going to be important now. And, I got a lot of faith. I mean, if you look at the roster right now, and I'll spend a little time on what our roster looks like, but if you look at the fact that we have Dennis Schroeder and we have Montrezl Harrell to go with LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Wesley Matthews, Alex Caruso, Kyle Kuzma, JaVale McGee, if you look at that roster alone by itself, that's a great roster. But you want to fill up the rest of the holes as well. KCP was advantageous to this roster. Markieff Morris found ways for the Lakers to be, let's see what we got here. Somebody breaking news to me here. Markieff Morris was definitely a player that found ways to be an asset for the Lakers during the postseason. So there have definitely been players, or these two players, that have helped the Lakers. So I'm a big fan of those two. I do think they got to find a way to bring them back. Rajon Rondo looks like he's going to be on his way out. And if he ends up with the Atlanta Hawks, fantastic. If he ends up with the Clippers, I don't even want to talk about him. But we'll see. Maybe he ends up with the Atlanta Hawks, but Mark Stein put out a tweet on that. Okay. So let me now go to, I want to talk Rob Pelinka for a quick second. Okay. So Laker fans, you guys know how I feel. Want to try to bring KCP back. Let me read off actually a couple of these real quick. Daniel Haynes on Periscope, pay KCP $11 million per year. Let me read off another one. Luis Anthony Gomez, good point. Any chance at getting Batum on a veteran minimum? I actually have no idea. But what I will say is, he is owed, I think, $9 million in dead money over the next 3 years with Charlotte because they just signed Gordon Hayward to – Hayward just got paid. Who the hell is Hayward's agent? That's an amazing contract. What is he getting, 120 mil or something like that? So they are getting rid of Batum. My only fear with Batum, he ends up with a contender. I like Batum. Batum's a good player. Like, the last thing I want to see is Nicholas Batum end up with, the Clippers or the Warriors or something along those lines. So, yes, am I being selfish? Of course I am. That's what I guess I do as a Laker fan. I just want more. Marco Paul. I don't even know if this is a real name. This is on Periscope. I'm assuming that says it's either Marco Palo or Marco Polo. And if it's Marco Polo, come on, man. Yeah. I'm doing a live show. I don't have enough time to figure this out on the fly. Wants KCP for 2 years, $20 million, which I actually think that'd be a fair contract. I think what KCP is trying to do is get extra years. I did see that the Knicks are coming actively after KCP. But do you really want to go play for the New York Knicks? Okay. All right. Let me see. One more KCP here. Yep, Russia Davidson on YouTube. New York is in the mix for KCP. Okay. I'm gonna move a little bit here. So I want to spend some time talking about Rob Pelinka, and then I want to talk about Montrezl Harrell, and we're gonna go from there. Okay. Okay. So there was a conference call a couple days ago where Rob Pelinka was basically addressing the media, and it was a Zoom call as we're all accustomed to now. And a couple things stuck out from that call. And I'm going to kind of replay this to what we've seen from the Lakers over the last couple of days. So Pelinka is basically saying, look, when you win a championship, it's easy to get complacent, that you kind of fall back on the success that you already had, and maybe you're not as hungry anymore. And this is one of the things that I think, we respect as Laker fans, being a fan of this franchise, The Lakers have 17 championships. I mean, they've won a ton of championships since the 1980s. So it's not like the franchise has ever been complacent. There's this expectation that you're either going to win a championship or it's an absolute fail, and many franchises can't say that. So here's Rob Pelinka, president of basketball operations, really calling the shots now on the basketball front for the Lakers. And he's talking about how there really hasn't been an offseason for him in the front office, that once they won the championship on October 11th, it was, okay, let's get right back to work. But more specifically about Pelinka, that I think I walked away with is just that there's not going to be, the franchise isn't going to be content. It's important for them to be aggressive right now. It's important for them. There's a lot of teams obviously trying to catch up to the Lakers, and Rob Pelinka, from what I was taking out of it, his mentality was, yeah, we're going to be the aggressors. We're going to be the ones on offense. We're going to be the ones that are trying to make the moves this summer or doing whatever they can to improve the roster. And, listen, I think it's important to take a quick second and take a step back and think about what that means for the Lakers. It means for the Lakers, over the last week, if you just look at what happened with the Lakers, this team just won the NBA championship. They just got championship number 17. They just tied the Boston Celtics for most championships in franchise history. You have LeBron James and you have Anthony Davis. You guys know the term when you're trying to defend your title. You're trying to defend the championship. You're playing defense almost in a sense, right? Pelinka and the Lakers front office, they're playing offense. Wait a minute. You just won the championship. These other teams are supposed to be trying to catch up to you. Instead, the Lakers, in my opinion, over this last week, have taken even more steps to go in front of the rest of the pack. And I'll tell you what I mean by that. You guys know how much Dennis Schroeder is going to help the Los Angeles Lakers. Like, I want to really emphasize how important Dennis Schroeder is going to be to the Lakers. So you lost Danny Green and the number 28 pick, and you brought the runner-up sixth man of the year who can create for himself, can come off the bench, who is averaging 18 and 4 a game with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who's 27 years old. That's a fantastic piece that you bring to the Lakers. And here's a player that has not won a championship, that's never been to the NBA Finals, doesn't know what it's like to play with greats like LeBron James and Anthony Davis. That's a big get from Rob Pelinka. But then you say, okay, well, you lost Danny Green. Because I did see people, saying you lost a guard. He plays defense. He's a veteran. You went out and you signed Wesley Matthews yesterday for $3.6 million. So you lost Danny Green. $15 million comes out the door. You replace him with Dennis Schroeder, a 27-year-old, for $15 million. A guy that every Laker fan has been saying, we need another playmaker. We need a guy to come off the bench. We need a guy that can get for his own. Schroeder fits all those needs. And then you replace Danny Green with Wesley Matthews at $3.6 million. Maybe I'm not the best in math. But if I look at those finances, what you were paying for Danny Green to what you're going to get in Wesley Matthews to replace Danny Green's, it's a fraction of the price. He's a spot-up shooter. He's a veteran. He's going to be a good locker guy. He's hungry to try and win an NBA championship. He's played for franchises like the Bucks and the Portland Trailblazers and the Dallas Mavericks. He's been competing at a high level. You got to love the move. You got to love the move. Okay, that was one of the deals. And then yesterday, free agency starts. I don't know about you guys. I wasn't thinking of Montrezl Harrell. Montrezl Harrell wasn't in my mind that this was a target for the Los Angeles Lakers. And I'm not here to tell you that Montrezl Harrell is Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon, or Karl Malone, because he's not. He actually has holes in his game. There were times when Lakers would play the Clippers, when Montrezl Harrell had the ball down low and he was trying to go to work. In my mind, I was like, I'm okay with that. Montrezl Harrell's got holes. It's not like Montrezl Harrell's going to face the basket and he's going to hit 15-footers on a consistent basis. Or if he takes it, you say, okay, we'll live with our chances. He shoots 66, 67% from the free throw line, so it's not like he's a great free throw shooter. But I'll tell you what Montrezl Harrell is. He's the sixth man of the year in the NBA, averaging 18 points, 7 rebounds, a block shot. He's an energy guy. He's got a motor that won't stop. He's 26 years old, and he's going to be playing with Anthony Davis and LeBron James. I mean, How about the opportunity for Montrezl Harrell? I don't know why he left the Los Angeles Clippers. You know, you would think if he left the Clippers, you would think, okay, maybe he was getting a huge contract from another team that was going to overpay. 2 years, $20 million. That's a great contract for the Lakers. That's not an absurd contract. And, you know, a couple of years ago, we had absurd contracts on this roster. We don't have them anymore. Everything we have now is very valuable contracts. So why do I go on this long-winded road to talk about Rob Pelinka? The dude just delivered a championship. And I know there's a lot of different pieces that come into play winning a championship. I'm not saying it's just on his shoulders, but he's making these basketball decisions. Jeannie Buss put him in this position. He's got a great front office around him. Of course, LeBron James, Anthony Davis, Clutch Sports, Rich Paul all have something to do with this as well. But Pelinka just delivered the Lakers a championship. They got number 17. And then to start off free agency, you went and got two of the best bench players in all of the NBA to play on your roster at age 26 and 27, and you signed Wesley Matthews. Now he's got to fill out the rest of the roster. They got to figure out what else they're going to do. But Laker fans, am I crazy here, or am I thinking that we have had arguably the best offseason out of any of these contenders? I'm just talking contenders. There might be, you know, folks that are out there that so a quick little fist bump right here. I got you guys. I'm not even looking at the chat room. My bad, Laker fans. My bad. Sometimes I get in the zone here, and I you know what I mean? It's like you're feeding me from the corner. I hit a couple in a row, and I'm like, just give me the ball right now. All right, it's not like that. But it's important to just kind of sit back for a quick second and you know, like Michael Mays on Facebook is saying, Rob has earned my respect. I think he's earned a ton of respect from a lot of people. Lenny Altamirez on Facebook, Rob is using Mamba mentality. Hey, I think there is something to that. There are certain type of people, they have the DNA like a Kobe Bryant for 20 years that, you know, we obviously saw the way he approached every single day when it came to basketball, when it came to life. There's certain individuals where it never turns off. You get one, you want another one. You get two, all you're thinking about is the next one. And I think that's what, when I say, I put out a tweet yesterday that Lakers are in good hands. What I was referring to was Jeannie Buss, Rob Pelinka, the franchise at the top is hungry when you don't have to be hungry. Does that make sense what I mean when I say that? And I know Laker fans might a lot of you might disagree and say, no, you have to be hungry if you're a Laker fan. What I'm saying is you're successful, and it doesn't even matter because all you're thinking about is how can I be more successful? That's a dangerous combination. That's a great combination if you have that in your front office. And it's not like you're just taking money and you're throwing it all over the place. No, it's strategic how they're doing it. And I'm just excited that they ended up with Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder and Wesley Matthews. And, you know, obviously here the Lakers are sitting in a fantastic spot moving forward. So props to Rob Pelinka. Props to what the Lakers have done so far. But the job is not even close to being done. It's not even close to being done. And it's not because you still got to figure out a lot of these other pieces for the Lakers. And let me go on Twitter. It's a small website. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of it, but it's a pretty good website. Okay, I'm seeing something here. Okay, let's see. Maybe Bogdanovich is still in play for the Lakers. We know Avery Bradley's going to the Miami Heat. Never want to hear Avery Bradley's name again. Ever. I'm just kidding. Avery Bradley's going to the Miami Heat. I don't know where Rondo will end up, but the KCP I think would be big for the Lakers if they can bring him back. But let's see what the Lakers are doing. Let's see what they're kind of figuring out in the background. Okay, so let me do this now. Let's do some roll call. There's some roll call going in here. Some roll call. Where are you guys tuning in from? Laker fans, I want to know where you're tuning from. In Southern California, across the country, across the world, wherever you're tuning in from, let me know. Give you guys a quick little shout out here. enjoy my cup of coffee. By the way, not bad doing a morning show, 9 a.m. I kind of enjoy it on a Saturday. That's where Lakers Talk originally started. Started Saturdays, 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. All right, everybody slow down here for a quick second. Santa Fe, New Mexico, Colorado Springs, thank you for tuning in. Lebanon, appreciate you being a part of the show. Lancaster, Singapore, 4 a.m. in Singapore. Aniket, Mohan, thank you for tuning in. Just go to bed, wake up in the morning. You can watch it again. It's going to be on YouTube. You're good. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Milan, Virginia, Simi Valley, Austin, Texas, Lancaster, thank you for being a part of the show. Washington State, Paramount, Arkansas in the house. Redondo, Oceanside, Florida, Afghanistan, Seattle, Ohio, Baines, or Ontario. Appreciate it, Laker fans. Thank you all for being a part of the show. Glendale, thank you for being a part of the show. Do we get this, Janice? Let's take down that free agency special. Got that, probably. It's a good week for Laker fans. It's a good week for Laker fans. I mean, we're sitting in the background here, this whole time over the last, month. Lakers win an NBA championship, and then we're like, that's not enough. 17 is so long ago. We don't care about championship number 17. I forgot about it already. We're now focused on championship number 18. All right, somebody says that King Taco, they're lying. Nigeria, thank you for tuning in. Canada, Florida, Toronto, Vegas. I literally can't keep up with all this. East Los Angeles, Philippines, Lake Forest, thank you all for being a part of the show. Virginia, thank you for being a part of the show. So this is what I want to get into. Let me tell you guys what I want to. China, thank you for being a part of the show. San Diego, Hemet, New York, Chino Hills. I literally can't keep up. Okay, so this is what I want to get to next year. Okay, so as much as I promoted what's happened with the Lakers over the last week, and I think people would agree that this is a good roster for the Lakers. I think this is, when it's all said and done, if before we were saying who's the third best player, now I think the question is who's the fifth best player, because Montrezl Harrell and Dennis Schroeder coming on your team, those are going to be big-time players for the Lakers. Is Kuzma the fifth best player? Is Caruso the fifth best player? Sixth best player? Like, that's what's going to be great about filling out the rest of this roster. I think that the Lakers just got more talented. Did not want to lose Dwight Howard. I won't lie about that one. I didn't want to lose. I thought Dwight brought great size to the Lakers. I loved always having a size advantage. But let's see what the Lakers do the rest of the way, and let's see how Pelinka kind of maneuvers from here. So, and I am looking on Twitter. If something breaks, Laker fans, keep me in the loop here. Keep me in the loop. You guys are helping me out here. Somebody's saying they don't understand the Montrez signing. Lakers Wisdom says they don't understand. By the way, big shout out, Power Pro Plumbing, Heating and Air, proud partner of a lot of the stuff that we do on 710 ESPN, but just a great partner. Big Laker fans, big Dodger fans. All their businesses are based out here in Southern California, and they just support the show. So I'm very appreciative of their partnership. So we appreciate them being a partner here. Okay, so let me get into real quick what's going on with the rest of. Let me get into real quick what's going on the rest of the contenders in the NBA. So is it safe to say this, that the Lakers got better in the last week? I think it's safe to say that. Yes, we got to figure out what happens with the rest of the NBA or the rest of the roster, but I think it's safe to say that they got better. Okay. Did the Clippers get better? I'm going to just talk about the contenders in the Western Conference, okay? The contenders in the Western Conference are supposed to be the Lakers, the Clippers, the Warriors, and the Denver Nuggets. Yes, there's other teams that are okay. Yes, there's other teams that are decent. But those four teams are supposed to be the four teams that are supposed to be competing in the Western Conference. It's safe to say the Lakers got better. Did the Clippers get better? Well, how would the Clippers get better when they lose Montrezl Harrell? And they don't only lose Montrezl Harrell, they lose Montrezl Harrell to the Lakers. They lose JaMychal Green, who's not a big piece, but he was a good role player for that team. He was actually playing big minutes in that Denver Nuggets series. And they signed Marcus Morris to a 4-year, I think $64 million deal. I think they overpaid for Marcus Morris. I don't think they had a choice. Free agency is not done, but I think it's safe to say that if the Lakers got better, I think the Clippers took a step back in the first 24 hours of free agency. I don't think that's I think that's actually, I don't think you can argue that. I think they got worse. Well, again, we'll see how they fill up the rest of their roster. Okay, let's look at another contender, the Denver Nuggets. So if the Lakers are the team to beat in the West and in the NBA and they got better, how'd the Denver Nuggets do? Well, the Nuggets just lost Jeremy Grant and replaced him with JaMychal Green, the player that just left the Clippers. That's not apples to apples. That's a significant difference. Laker fans know we played Denver, beat them in 5 games. And that 7-game series that we watched against Denver and the Clippers, Jeremy Grant was great. Now, he wanted a bigger role. I think he got $60 million. He ends up with the Pistons, but who cares? He left the Nuggets. The Nuggets are not as good as they were a few days ago. Okay, let's look at the Golden State Warriors. Golden State Warriors, unfortunate situation again for them. And, you know, I had a chance to text Michael Thompson back and forth, but devastating to the Warriors. They lost Klay Thompson again. Klay Thompson is such a huge piece to the Golden State Warriors. And then they add Kelly Oubre. They're trying to use that trade exception. They drafted at number 2, which I thought they would shop and they would trade because they're trying to win a championship right now. The Warriors, what their vision was a week ago to what it is today, they're not the team that, you know, they're supposed to be or that they thought they would be. So the competition in the NBA, just the Western Conference, I think the Lakers have pushed themselves forward even further. And I think the rest of the competition in the Western Conference has fallen back. And that's, I think, just where we are right now. Now, what those teams end up doing, they'll be aggressive. They'll try to find ways to obviously continue to improve their roster, but they are not as good as they were a couple days ago. And yes, there's some teams, you know, you see Jay Crowder is now going to be a part of the Suns. That's a nice pickup for them along with Chris Paul. Are they going to compete for a championship? No, they're not. Pelicans got Steven Adams. They're a nice young team. Are they going to compete for a championship? No, they're not. So you can kind of go down the list with all the other teams in the Western Conference, and you can say that Lakers really from all the contenders significantly got better, while the rest of the Western Conference, in my opinion, got worse. So that's my opinion on that. Spring Valley, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for tuning in. Let's see what else we got here. Carlos Hernandez on Periscope says Avery and Dwight not coming back got me kind of hurt. Going to be honest with you, all those players that left the Lakers, like I'm a big fan. Rondo, I don't have to tell you guys how big of a fan I was because I was talking about him and just I thought he was so important in the playoffs. We maybe don't even win a championship without Rondo. That's how key I was. I thought he was in the playoffs. Who else? Danny Green played a role. Dwight Howard was a beast for the Lakers this year. Okay, yes, I know he was minimal. It's not like he was the Dwight Howard back in the days in Orlando, but he played his role. So a lot of these guys that are no longer on the Lakers, I'm with you. But what more can you ask from what the organization is doing? Because I think the roster is better, number one, and I think number two, I think that by the time the rest of the roster is filled out, then we'll have a better idea of what the Lakers look like. By the way, we have 1,982 live streaming right now. Just get to 2,000. Am I asking for too much? Can we hit that 2 marker? By the way, appreciate everybody that's tuning in right now. Let me throw out here real quick what players are still left, and I want you guys to keep an eye out on the remaining players that are still out there right now so far that could have some kind of change. You know, when I say some water here, like when I say that when I say that other teams can still benefit. So let me throw out the names that are still out there. Serge Ibaka is still a big name. You don't want Serge Ibaka going to a Clippers or a Golden State Warriors or a contender. You just don't want Serge Ibaka going to a contender. What you want is maybe Serge Ibaka stays in the Eastern Conference, or maybe eventually signs with a team, got paid some good money, already has a championship. If he's not coming to the Lakers, you want him to go to a bad team. So Serge Ibaka, keep that name in mind. We'll see what happens to Marc Gasol. Fred VanVleet just signed for $85 million. He's off the board. I don't think anybody thought he was going to a contender. Jay Crowder just ended up with the Phoenix Suns. Good addition for the Phoenix Suns. So those are some names that you can keep in mind. By the way, 1,998 live streaming. Just need two more, guys. Just need two more. Two more to get to 2,000. Another name thrown out there, Bogdan Bogdanovic. I don't know what's going to happen to him. I really don't. Maybe there's a way that he ends up with the Lakers. Maybe not. Maybe what you just don't want to see is you don't want to see some of these significant players end up with a contender. I think that's all I'm asking for, is that they don't end up with a contender. Blew through 2041. 2041. That's 41 too many. I need 41 people to get off the live stream real quick. So that's where we are. And I think just kind of in a hole here, the way I want to just kind of circle back on everything here. You added some really, really good talent on this Lakers team, and they're good contracts. Dennis Schroeder's 1 year, expiring contract. Replaces Danny Green, $15 million. Wes Matthews, 1 year, $3.6 million. He can do what Danny Green does. He's coming in 4 times lower than what Danny Green was costing you. Montrezl Harrell, not only did you weaken the Clippers, you got a player from the Clippers that I think with Anthony Davis and LeBron James, add another big in the mix there, a guy like JaVale McGee, Montrezl Harrell is going to be fine on this Lakers team. Maybe he doesn't put up 18 points a game and 7 rebounds. He should get the rebounds. The rebounds, he should be a monster on there. Montrezl Harrell's role on the Lakers needs to be a bully guy, a guy that's just all energy, that's getting his points and rebounds off cleaning the glass. The Lakers team, their roster 100% got better over these last couple of days. Rob Pelinka making some great moves, playing offense when a lot of other teams are playing defense, or they're just trying to catch up to the Lakers, and the Lakers are moving further on out there. A lot of respect to the players that have either looks like they're leaving the Lakers or they left the Lakers, and I'm talking about Rondo. I'm talking about Avery Bradley. I'm talking about Dwight Howard, Danny Green. These players, we appreciate what they did. But now as they move on, you got to replace those positions. Let's see how the Lakers close out the rest of their roster. KCP, keep an eye out on. Keep an eye out on some of these other players that are available out there. And we'll just continue to do this. So I will say this, that if anything big goes on or anything else, obviously that's affiliated to the Lakers, then I'll find a way to get back on this live stream. But we are going to start wrapping up this show. You guys need to, how do I stop going? We're almost 2,300 live. How do I stop at that? I mean, I feel like I have a restaurant full of customers, and I'm telling everybody, guys, doors are closed. Everybody get out of the restaurant. But with all that being said, I think there really is something to say about just the position that the Lakers are in right now. And now it's a matter of, finishing up the rest of the roster, letting Rob Pelinka and the rest of the guys kind of finish their work. And I know Laker fans are expecting big things. I'm expecting big things as well. And we'll see how the Lakers finish things off. But to start out free agency, you got to feel damn good if you're a Los Angeles Laker fan right now. I remember, 4 years ago? We were signing Luol Deng, and we were signing Timofey Mozgov, or there were free agents that we were talking to that didn't want to come to the Lakers. Lakers right now is the spot to be. If you want more Lakers talk and more Laker conversation, go on the ESPN app or on iTunes. I did my 2-hour Lakers talk show. You can catch all 2 hours there. I appreciate everybody being a part of the live stream. This is great. Always enjoy doing it. You guys have a good rest of your Saturday. Have a good rest of your weekend. And let's hope the Lakers finish off rounding up this roster. Thank you to 710. Thank you to Power.